ad lib it here. Let me get the right buttons.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Koality Gaming Podcast featuring Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. Today, it's 2 weeks into Season 2, and we're going to be talking about the changes, what we feel about the meta currently, and what we might want to see in the future. As always, I am Mr. Koala, and today I am joined by two very special guests. First up, if you see this name in your lobby, you better know that the man bun is coming hunting for you. It is none other than it's Zempai. How you doing today, Zempai? I am well. Since this is our first time working together, I just wanted to touch base with you a little bit. And why don't you tell me a little bit about how long you've been playing Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier and where people can find your content?
That was my main game. And I stream it regularly. Well, at least I did. You can find it on Twitch, which is just it's underscore Zempai at twitch.tv. But yeah, that's where you will find all of my Final Fantasy content. I have like a YouTube channel, but I haven't really posted much there except for like when people were saying that I cheat or use auto fire and I had to post stuff and be like, no, I don't.
All right. So our second guest today is pretty big in the community, and that's because he's all about that, the community. He's our favorite virtual streamer, and that is none other than Nox DM. Nox, how you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. We have worked a little bit here and there, but why don't you give some people some insight into where they can find your stream and when you stream?
Find me on Twitch at NoxDM. Most of the people probably know me by now in the community, so I stream pretty much almost daily except for 2 days. But other than that, yeah, try to stay regular on a schedule.
All right, so let's hop into the topics today. As I said, we're going to be talking about season 2, and our first topic is going to be Dragoon. It is probably the most popular thing that was added into the season 2. I'm going to hop over to Nox first on this one. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you like and dislike about the Dragoon?
Well, I finally got it to 60 today, so I have a little bit of input. I do like the mobility of Dragoon, being able to do the high jump and glide around and chase people. Um, One thing I don't like so far, it might just be my own flaw, is the melee. It kind of doesn't really lock on as much as I would like it to. So you're kind of just swinging in the air. And a couple people have made notice about the whole flying up high and not being able to tell that someone's flying over you as a Dragoon as well. Kind of like how they had an input for the Chocobos flying. Um, I don't know. I feel like that can be easily fixed, or it can stay as that as of like a little sneak attack on people who are unaware, not looking to the skies. But yeah.
All right, so Zenpai, same question over to you, but I'm going to ask you to take it just a step further. Can you talk about what your preferred build is as far as skills go on the Dragoon, and whether or not you think that is going to be the meta build, or what you think would be different between your build and the meta build?
I definitely think, um, let's see, high jump is the stronger one out of the two skills, and Dragon's Ire for the passive. Because I mean, yeah, high jump just it gives you high ground, lots of mobility, horizontal and vertical. Gives you a lot of escape options and chase down options. And also, as you've already mentioned, yeah, they do have an issue with you flying over people and it not showing, like you don't hear them, and it also doesn't give you the footsteps indicator that they're over you or close to you. So yeah, it's pretty deadly for sneak attacks, escapes, or chase downs. Dragon's Ire is the other go-to, mainly because, like at the highest levels of any BR, it's a battle for positioning and resources. And to be able to deplete someone's MP is quite a big deal. Um, the other two, like melee, having a better range on your melee isn't really that strong, especially with the Dragoon, because its melee is kind of wonky. It's pretty hard to hit people with the final hit. Um, and what is the other? Oh yeah, and the other one is like damage mitigation when you're flying, which is pretty good. But Dragon's Ire, I think, takes the cake there, just because being able to deplete someone's resources by getting hit, you're basically punishing your opponent for getting hits on you, which is like they should be rewarded for getting hits on you.
Yeah, it is a very strong ability. Nox, do you agree with that build, or do you feel like you like something different, or how do you feel about the skills?
Honestly, I haven't dabbled in the skills as much, so I would feel that anything Zempai says is probably what's I would probably go with probably if I
Uh,
had to.
Fair enough. Zempai touched on it a little bit. Warrior Light asked for our thoughts on Dragon's Ire. I'll touch on it a little bit here as well. For me personally, I like Dragon's Favor and Dragon's Ire better than High Jump, and that's personal preference. And I do feel that both of these skills are going to have their place in the meta. High Jump, as Zempai touched on, is definitely the safer route in the sense that it gives you the high ground and you're allowed to escape. But he also touched on the utility of the skills. And I feel like in a team setting where if you're running Dragon's Ire, you're draining MP from a distance, and then you're using that positioning along with your teammates to cover you to get in close and do as much utility damage as you can for your team to follow up with. I know that sometimes that's hard to follow along with in a competitive spirit because everybody wants to be the carry. But I feel like the Dragoon in a team setting is going to take kind of a back seat in a support role and be able to, as Zempai kind of touched on, apply this utility that will allow other classes such as sorcerer or warrior or even maybe a ranger at long distance pick up some kills and really bring a team strategy into the gameplay. So we're going to move on to the next topic here now that we've all touched on that. The new world boss, Bahamut. Zempai, I'm going to throw it over to you to start with this one. How do you feel about this world boss? Have you enjoyed it as an addition, or do you feel like it's too much PvE in a PvP game, or is it just in the sweet spot?
I think it's I think it hits the sweet spot. Honestly, like I love how much PvE is in Final Fantasy, specifically because it rewards players for being proactive instead of being passive and waiting till like the end circle. Um, yeah, I also like wanted to see that like in terms of leveling up. Yeah, like I'd rather there not be like a passive level up, just so that people don't get resources for doing nothing kind of thing. But yeah, like the world boss, Bahamut is definitely strong. I think he kind of fills that role that other um, battle royales have. Like PUBG has that red zone that kind of just throws down airstrikes, and Bahamut kind of does that in his own way. In terms of battling him, I think he's like very well balanced. Maybe improve his AI a bit so that he's able to hit people who are too high up, because that's like kind of how you exploit going against Bahamut, is that you just go high enough and he just keeps spamming like projectiles at you that doesn't really hit you or you can dodge. I think it's great that he's a strong summon. Like I think he's very strong summon. Even just the fact that he's able to do recon from so high up in the sky. But yeah, like his abilities are quite strong, which is great because it's not like he's easy to get. He's also very like an easy objective to third party others who are trying to get him. So yeah, I really love the addition of Bahamut. I also love the fact that they added like skins to it, which is pretty cool.
All right, so Nox, I'm going to throw it over to you, seeing how now that you pretty much become the community expert on Mega Flare. How do you feel about Bahamut being added into this game?
That was a one-time thing. Just want to point that out for the Mega Flare issue we had. Bahamut, I think it's pretty awesome in terms of the whole PvE, PvP aspect of the game. I do like the fact that they dropped the dome around him, so people can't, like, I guess, try and take that kill away from you without actually engaging with him or with your party or just you in solos. It adds an extra depth to the game. I definitely like the fact that we get to become a summon instead of just have a random AI summon kind of just lollygag around while you're running around trying to fight people. It's not really helping. But the Mega Flares, I do like them. Obviously, I have had my close encounters with a few of them myself. Finding out that you can hide inside buildings away from it and it doesn't just blow up the whole area like I thought before is a nice little piece of information I wish I knew ahead of time. But I think it's a good addition for sure. In terms of gameplay and just the fact that it's kind of like that high risk, high reward type thing. If you're playing teams at least, and you have a couple of those teammates that want to go and become Bahamut or fight him, and it's a good way to encounter other people and gets a little hectic and crazy. In solos, I feel he's a little bit easy, as someone pointed out, but I guess maybe, I mean, there's a reason why, because it's solos. You don't really want to get just destroyed by him. But as Zempai touched on, the whole height cheesing mechanic that people have already exploited, they definitely need to fix that, because that's just going to make it easier for people in the long run to kind of just become Bahamut early game and just take everyone out.
All right, so I personally touched on this a little bit in my my pre-patch and my patch notes coverage, and it kind of fleshed out the way I thought it was going to, and it did the same way with the Scorpion Sentinel and Cloud, where people they're misinterpreting the PvE that is in this PvP game. And I mean that in the sense where I understand that there is a battle pass goal right now to damage Bahamut, to turn into Bahamut, to do all this stuff in this world boss. But we're still playing a competitive PvP game, so there has to be risk reward for this system. And I feel like the risk is worth the reward in this essence, because the summon is really strong, as Zempai touched on. It's a lot of fun, as Nox touched on. So it makes us really want to go and get this, and it makes the PvP part of it even more fun. Yeah, you might get third partied. Yeah, you might not be able to summon him this time, but we have, what is it, 3 months of a season? There's plenty. You don't have to do everything for week 2 in week 2. You'll eventually get it, and if not, there's plenty of ambassadors like myself who will hop in and help you guys do these things as the season get to the end. But relax and remember that this is a community game. This is a PvP game, and it's all about that. So don't get too worked up about trying to get this all done in week 2. This is more about fun and enjoy it. So I really do think this is a good addition to the game. Moving on, as I said, I touched on a lot of this stuff in my pre-patch stuff, my patch notes, and so on. So I don't want to hang out on the new stuff too much. So let's move on to how we feel about the game in the current state. So with all these additions and all the stuff we had prior, how do we feel about the game going forward? I'm going to put you both on the spot just a little bit. I'll let you choose who goes first. But I want to ask you each to put down or give me a list of what you think is your favorite class to least favorite. And I want to make it clear that I am saying favorite, because I don't want to start a thing where like, oh, this is the best or this is the best. I want to get our opinions out, and then from that opinion, we can talk strengths and weaknesses of individual classes and give tips and pointers and see how it fits into the meta that way. So would either of you like to give us your list first? All right. So,
I'll go, yeah.
all right.
My favorite to least favorite. Okay. Least favorite, definitely Ranger. Did you want us to list why?
No, you could just you could just go through them, and then
Okay.
we'll do a little bit of talk at the end.
Ranger, and then Monk, and then Warrior. Wait, I feel like I'm missing something. There's
6.
There's 6. Okay, so Ranger, Monk, and then Warrior.
Dragoon.
Drigger, my favorite
You got Dragoon,
would be
Sorcerer.
Sorcerer. So yeah, so it's Ranger, Monk, Warrior, Dragoon, Sorcerer, Ninja.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, I'll switch up Dragoon and Sorcerer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why? Tell me what you think the strengths of Ninja are, and why that would be your favorite.
The strengths of Ninja is just his mobility. Specifically, mobility during fights. The double jump is great for a dodging tool for getting angles to do your fire. So fire, especially because fire being as strong as it is, as long as you're able to hit your shots, Ninja gets like the best angles on that. I guess Dragoon can too, but it's kind of locked behind like longer cooldowns of high jump and stuff. But yeah, Ninja has just great mobility and like escape tools and stuff, especially and like for vertical mobility. Like a lot of the classes, I think outside of Dragoon and Ninja, all the other classes I would run Arrow specifically because they don't have good vertical utility like Ninja and Dragoon do. So yeah, that's why I love Ninja. Just the mobility, the angles, and the utility of its movement.
All right. So now I'm going to come over to you, Knox, and why don't you give me your list from? Let's do the same as Zempai did: least favorite to most favorite.
Uh, least favorite is probably gonna be Ranger. And then I guess maybe Sorcerer. Who was my Ninja, and then Dragoon, and then Monk. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but it's kind of weird. I don't know, but yeah.
All right. So we both said Ranger was your least favorite. So Knox, I had him talk about his favorite. Why don't you tell me why Ranger is your least favorite, or what you feel like is the weaknesses of Ranger in the current meta?
In my opinion, I feel like Ranger just doesn't have enough going for it in terms of any kind of I guess just like mobility or any like useful ability in my opinion. Like the scan is good and all, but I mean you don't really have to rely on a scan to know where people are coming from or where they're at. If you've been playing the game for a while, you kind of just learn these things on the go. And other than that, I just don't see it as a useful class, even in solos or in, I mean, squads even. Like some people like to play it and they're good at it, but at the same time, it isn't. I don't feel like it really has a use in the game yet, unless they change something about it or give that class something that's more beneficial in the long run. Because I mean, we have on-screen indicators for like when people are nearby us and stuff like that already. I feel like that's more than enough to kind of give someone a heads up of someone coming from which direction and stuff like that. Obviously, audio cues. Yeah.
All right, so I cheat a little bit in my list because I'm gonna break it down into tiers, and I'm kind of doing my favorite, but I'm also mixing in a little bit of my opinion based on what I've seen in the tournaments I've put on, from other footage I've been watching, as well as other high-end competitive footage from Southeast Asia, from the Japanese server, from all different servers. And for me personally, I have Warrior in the top tier by itself. And that's a little bias on my part. And that's because I feel like it is very. The skill cap is a little bit lower than all the other ones in the sense that the combos you can pull off with Warrior are very clean, and they have been since the start. And again, the skill cap is a little bit lower, so it's very easy to play Warrior. There is currently some pretty strong counters to it, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But for me, Warrior is the top class. Then we go take a step down. I have Sorcerer and Ninja. Now, Zempai touched on a little bit. Ninja is one of the two classes that easily can get to the high ground in position, and that's what makes it a really strong solo. I don't think it's as strong in teams because doesn't necessarily bring extra to the team, but it does make you still a carry on a team. So that's something that is very strong still. And then the next tier is going to be Dragoon and Monk. I feel like these two classes are another set of really strong classes, but they have a higher skill cap to master. I think Dragoon's skill cap is going to drop a little bit when they add those quality of life changes, such as the melee lock on being a little bit better, as well as an indicator for the flight. But they have these really good all in potential, but you have to have the positioning and the skill in order to get to those all in situations. And for me, the last class is, of course, Ranger, as you guys said. It does have a little bit of team viability. That's the word I'm looking for. Team viability, but it just, as Nox said, it's just not enough to make it stand out and make me want to play this class. So I feel like they're making some changes with the sniper, where Rangers are really strong sniper users now, but it's still not enough to make me want to be like, oh, let's go grab a Ranger so I can run a sniper. So, other than that, how do you guys feel about? We all kind of had Sorcerer in the top half, Ninja in the top half, and Warrior, I believe, were towards the top half for all three of us. How do you guys feel about the current classes in the meta? Other than Ranger, it seems like the other five are pretty viable. Like we could all, if you like these kind of classes, you can hop on any one of them and feel like you're a part of the game. Do either of you feel like there's a class other than Ranger that's like that, or that in the current meta that we have a good representation of the classes? I'll hop over to you first, Senpai. How do you feel about the classes in the current meta? Do you feel like is a good variety, or do you feel like some of them are standing out more than others?
I think it's a very good variety. In terms of like others standing out more than the rest, I think that would just be like whatever class is stronger. But yeah, I think there's a very good variety. Yeah, no complaints there in terms of variety.
So the reason I bring that up is because the developers have made it very clear that their goal is not to balance things necessarily based on whether it's overpowered or needs a nerf or anything like that. They have made it clear that their goal is to use the data to see what people are playing a lot and what people are playing a little, and try to make an adjustment so that they all can meet in the middle somewhere. Now, the reason I bring that up is because we're going to move on to our next topic, and that is something that is the hottest topic, I believe, in the forums right now, and that is gravity. I'm going to throw it over to Nox this time. Nox, how do you feel about gravity in the current meta? Because there's a lot of talk about it not having any counterplay, or it being a very strong, not necessarily abusable, but being used a lot by almost everybody. How do you feel about gravity?
I personally, I love gravity. I honestly feel like a lot of the hate and flack that gravity's been getting lately is because, like you said, obviously everyone uses it, but I feel like it was more of a counter to Warrior's dash and just being Warrior pushed a lot in the beginning of like season 1, and how it continued to go on, and no one really had any kind of way to counter that, and just kept getting rolled by Warriors. So people started learning to use gravity. A lot of people say, you don't take a lot of skill to cast gravity and shoot somebody in the center and the other, but I feel like there is a little bit of skill to learn how to properly place or, like, I guess, like, trace somebody's movement to try and catch them in it, for sure. I mean, I don't always grab everyone I try to hold down with gravity, but it definitely has helped me in some sticky situations. I'm not sure if there has been any changes to it since season 1 or throughout any updates or anything like that. I don't really like get too deep into like patch notes and like what's been nerfed or and stuff like that. But a lot of people want it to be nerfed. I don't know what they would do to it, but even if they did it, I still feel like enough people would still use it. At least I would, just how they took away the splash damage and stuff like that for fire. A lot of people still use fire. A lot of people are still good with it. Unless they just completely remove that materia from the game, I don't see gravity really changing anything up or going away anytime soon.
All right, Zempai, so I'm gonna throw it over to you. We got Nox's opinion. Why don't you give me your opinion on gravity, but also, if there was any changes, what change you might like to see happen to gravity?
Um, I definitely don't like what gravity is doing to the game. I think it's like overpowered. Um, like gravity essentially, uh, it like removes a certain distance from engagement. Like if someone has gravity, you can't really chase them around a corner. There's it just zones you out, and it zones you out. Yeah, it can be a tool or defensive. You can use it for engaging. You can use it on a person, or you can just lay it on a choke point and run away. Um, yeah, I don't think it's very healthy for the gameplay. Um, yeah, because like chasing someone when they're running away with a blizzard, you already have to change your angles, and then if they have gravity on top of that, it's just like, yeah, you really have to work your angles and stuff. And this is another reason why I love ninja so much, is because um like as much as sorcerer with arrow or dragoon have great mobility, when it comes to like that short burst of mobility that you need to get around a corner or something, just so you can get like a peak shot over a wall or something, or just get like a higher climb on something so you can get different angles. Like the ninja has that, and you can abuse that to get around gravity spam. For changes I'd like to see with gravity, I definitely like it to either be a projectile that um, it would still have around like the same um, active radius, or sorry, like what do you call it? Like the radius in which like it activates. I think it should remain, but I think it should be either a projectile so that you can dodge it, like you can dodge fire, because like it being a ground instant cast is kind of like nigh unstoppable, right? Another change I'd like to see to it um, would be if they change the properties of gravity's effects. Like if you get caught in gravity, you should still be able to shoot, um, cast materia, and move around, but like obviously slower. The only thing is that I don't think you should be able to escape the gravity outside of walking out of it. So like you can't blast yourself out of there with fire if you chose to do that, or use arrow, or use warrior dash. Like I would be okay if people could use their abilities like the warrior dash, the rush, just to activate the shield to maybe mitigate damage. But in terms of like escaping it, I think it should be just either you like walk out. But yeah, like the biggest things for me would be the fact um, that I would like it to make it so that you can shoot and cast materia when you're in gravity, just so there is some counterplay. Like you get your mobility taken away from you, but you can still clutch it up by having better shooting skills.
Those are some good ideas. I like a lot of them. I a couple of those I haven't heard before, but one I did hear was to you touched on it. The radius might stay the same, but the amount of time it takes to activate maybe go up a little bit on that. So you put it down, and then it takes maybe a second or so before it activates. That way, you do have time to counterplay it and move through it. Another one was maybe make something like lightweight shoes counter it, where if you have lightweight shoes on, you don't get the affected by gravity, or it's a lower effect, as you were just mentioning, where you can still cast stuff, or maybe. Um, and I do agree that gravity does need a change because it has changed the style of the game. Nox touched on it a little bit, and I do think it changed it in a healthy way. But as Zempai touched it, it changed it a little bit too much, where it takes away the aggression, the blind aggression of warriors. Where before the reason they were so strong is because they were just running straight at you, and like I said, is they are a very low skill cap class where if you get in close, you're probably going to be able to get at least one kill. Now, with gravity, it's a little tougher to do that. You can't be as blindly as aggressive. As Zempai touched on it, you have to think about where you want to move on the map before you move in for the kill. So yeah, gravity does need a change. I do think there is some counterplay to it currently, where I had a match me and Nox last week on stream where he came at me on a chocobo. I hit around the corner as a monk, and I used the 20% or lower dash to kick him right off his chocobo. And unfortunately, I was spamming my melee attack after that, and I didn't get the lock-on symbol for a second kick, and I got stuck in a melee animation. Nox put down a gravity, and I was killed. Whereas if I had played that perfectly and waited for my lock-on animation, I would have dodged the gravity, and I would have had a fighting chance. Now, I've touched on it many, many times from my first broadcast and my first patch notes coverage, is that games like this need counterplay. And the margin of error for gravity right now, much like snipers that they've already changed, the margin of error is just too small. Where if you get sniped by someone across the map for a headshot and you get taken out of the game immediately, that's unfortunate. That doesn't feel good. There's nothing about that feels good. There is counterplay. You can dodge the bullet, but if someone's hiding in a building and takes one shot at you the first time you stand still, that's not fun. There's no counterplay, and it's just not something that is healthy for the game, as Zempai said. And gravity is kind of like taking the hold of that position where there is, some counterplay, but it's not good counterplay. It's not fun counterplay, and it's. I don't think that it's overpowered, but I do think that it's putting a damper on some play styles in this game. So I do think there is some changes that need to be made, and I hope that it's coming up in a future patch. All right, everybody. So that's it for the Season 2 topics that we have prepared. If there's anybody that has any questions in the chat and would like to get them in right now, feel free. But I would like to say thank you to my two guests for being here. Zempai, real quick, one more time, can you plug anywhere that people can find your content?
It would just be its_Zempai .twitch TV. Did I say that right?
Twitch.tv/its_Zempai.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right. And Nox, where can people find you?
Nox DM on Twitch. I don't know the link thing either, so.
All right, you got it. As always, I am Mr. Koala. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I hope to see you at future content. I completely butchered that ending, but I spaced out. Like I was like, wait, I know what I need to do next. I have to press this button when I'm done, and I started thinking about the button I needed to press, and I forgot what I was saying. So let me try this one more time. Thank you to my guests for being here, and thank you everybody for tuning in for the Koality Gaming podcast featuring Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. We talked about Season 2, all the different changes, and I hope to see you in future content.